A respectful woman is not defined by how loudly she speaks, but by how deeply she understands. Self-respect is not something that appears overnight. It is something a woman builds quietly through the choices she makes when no one is watching. It begins in the smallest moments. How she speaks to herself in her thoughts, how she treats her time, and what she allows into her life. A respectful woman understands that the relationship she has with herself sets the foundation for every other relationship. If she constantly ignores her own needs, tolerates what hurts her, or doubts her own worth, she silently teaches others to do the same. But when she honors herself, when she listens to her inner voice, she creates a standard that others can feel without her needing to explain it. She does not wait for someone to tell her she is valuable. She decides it for herself. This decision is not loud or dramatic. It is steady and calm. It shows in the way she carries herself, in the way she refuses to settle for less than what aligns with her values. She does not chase people who are unsure about her. She does not beg for attention or approval. She understands that what is meant for her will not require her to lose herself. There is a quiet discipline in the way she treats her time. She knows that her time is her life, and she does not give it away carelessly. She does not entertain conversations that drain her energy or stay in places that disturb her peace, not because she feels superior, but because she understands her limits. She respects her energy the same way she respects her dignity. Self-respect also shows in how she handles discomfort. There are moments when it is easier to stay silent, to tolerate disrespect, to avoid confrontation, just to keep things smooth. But a respectful woman knows that temporary comfort is not worth long-term damage to her self-worth. She is willing to stand alone, if it means standing in truth. She is willing to walk away, even when it is difficult, because she understands that staying in the wrong place slowly erodes her from within. She does not confuse self-respect with arrogance. She does not need to prove that she is better than anyone else. True self-respect is quiet. It does not compete. It does not compare. It simply exists. It is the ability to look at oneself honestly, to accept both strengths and weaknesses, and still choose to act with integrity. Her boundaries are a reflection of her self-respect. She knows what she will accept and what she will not tolerate. And once those boundaries are clear, she does not feel the need to constantly defend them with anger. Her actions speak. If something crosses her line, she creates distance. Not out of hate, but out of understanding. There is also strength in the way she forgives herself. A respectful woman does not punish herself endlessly for her past mistakes. She learns, she reflects, and she grows. She understands that growth requires patience, and she gives that patience to herself. She does not let guilt define her identity, but she uses it as a lesson to become better. She takes care of herself, not for appearance, not for validation, but because she understands that her body and mind are her responsibility. The way she rests, the way she nourishes herself, the way she protects her mental space, all of it reflects how deeply she respects herself. She is not afraid of being misunderstood. Not everyone will recognize her value, and she is at peace with that. She does not try to convince people to see her worth. She knows that those who truly understand will not need convincing. In difficult moments, when emotions are strong and situations are unclear, she returns to one question: does this align with who I am becoming? And if the answer is no, she has the strength to step back, even when it hurts. This is the essence of self-respect. It is not perfection. It is not always easy. It is a continuous practice of choosing oneself, again and again, in quiet, consistent ways. Control over emotions is not about suppressing what you feel. A respectful woman does not become cold, distant, or numb. She feels deeply, but she is not ruled by those feelings. There is a difference between experiencing an emotion and becoming controlled by it, and she understands this difference with clarity. In moments of tension, when words could easily be spoken in anger, she pauses. That pause is her power. It creates space between what she feels and how she chooses to respond. While others may react instantly, driven by impulse, she remains aware. She observes what is happening within her, whether it is frustration, disappointment, or hurt, without allowing it to take control of her actions. This awareness is not something she was born with. It is something she has practiced. Over time, she has learned that reacting without thinking often leads to regret. Words spoken in anger cannot be taken back, and actions done in emotional intensity often damage relationships, including the one she has with herself. Because of this understanding, she values restraint. Restraint for her is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. Anyone can react. Anyone can raise their voice, defend their ego, or try to win an argument. But it takes discipline to remain calm when emotions rise. It takes control to choose silence when the situation demands it. A respectful woman does not allow temporary emotions to create permanent consequences. She knows that emotions are like waves. They rise, they peak, and they pass. If she reacts at the peak of the wave, she risks being carried away by it. But if she waits, if she allows the wave to settle, she can respond with clarity instead of confusion. She also understands that not every situation deserves her emotional energy. There are moments when engaging only drains her, when responding only fuels unnecessary conflict. In those moments, she chooses to step back, not because she is avoiding the situation, but because she recognizes that her peace is more valuable than proving a point. When she speaks, she does so with intention. Even in difficult conversations, she does not let her emotions turn into attacks. She expresses herself clearly, without disrespecting others or herself. She knows that emotional control is not about silence in every situation, but about choosing the right moment and the right way to communicate. There are times when she feels hurt, when something affects her deeply. She does not deny those feelings. She allows herself to process them, but she does so privately, with awareness. She reflects instead of reacting. She asks herself why she feels the way she does and what the situation is teaching her. This ability to reflect gives her strength. It prevents her from being easily manipulated by others. When someone tries to provoke her, to pull her into unnecessary drama, she remains grounded. She does not give others the power to control her emotional state. Her peace is not dependent on how others behave. She also takes responsibility for her reactions. She does not blame others for how she responds. She understands that while she cannot control every situation, she can always control herself. This sense of responsibility allows her to grow continuously, instead of repeating the same patterns. In challenging moments, when emotions feel overwhelming, she returns to stillness. Sometimes it is a deep breath, sometimes it is silence, sometimes it is simply walking away for a moment. These small actions help her regain control, allowing her to respond with awareness instead of impulse. Over time, this practice becomes part of who she is. People notice it. They feel her calm presence. They see that she is not easily shaken, not easily provoked. And this quiet control becomes a form of respect, not only from others, but from herself. A respectful woman understands that words carry weight. They are not just sounds that fill silence, but tools that can build or break, heal or harm, connect or distance. Because of this, she does not speak carelessly. She becomes aware of what she says, how she says it, and why she is saying it. Before she speaks, there is a moment of intention. She does not rush to fill every silence, nor does she feel the need to always have the last word. She understands that silence, when used wisely, can hold more power than unnecessary speech. In that silence, she observes, she listens, and she understands the situation more deeply. When she chooses to speak, her words are clear and grounded. She does not use them to attack, to belittle, or to prove superiority. Even in disagreement, she maintains respect. She expresses her thoughts in a way that reflects her inner discipline, not her temporary emotions. This does not mean she avoids difficult conversations. It means she approaches them with awareness. She does not speak just to be heard. She speaks to be understood. There is a difference. Many people talk with the intention of dominating a conversation, but a respectful woman communicates with the intention of creating clarity. She listens fully before responding, allowing others to express themselves without interruption. This ability to listen makes her words more meaningful when she finally speaks. Her tone is as intentional as her words. She knows that how something is said often matters more than what is said. A simple sentence can carry kindness or disrespect depending on tone. Because of this awareness, she remains calm and composed, even when the conversation becomes challenging. She does not allow frustration to turn her voice into something she would later regret. There is also honesty in her speech. She does not hide behind manipulation or indirect communication. She says what she means, but she does so with care. Truth, in her eyes, is not a weapon. It is a responsibility. She understands that honesty without kindness can be harsh, and kindness without honesty can be misleading. So she balances both. She avoids gossip and unnecessary negativity. Speaking about others in a way that lowers them does not align with who she is. She knows that the way a person talks about others often reflects their own character. Instead of engaging in conversations that spread negativity, she either redirects the conversation or chooses silence. A respectful woman also knows when not to speak. Not every thought needs to be expressed. Not every opinion needs to be shared. There are moments when speaking would only create more noise, more confusion, or more conflict. In those moments, she chooses restraint. This is not suppression, but wisdom. She takes responsibility for her words. If she makes a mistake, if something she says causes harm, she does not defend it with ego. She acknowledges it. She apologizes sincerely, without excuses. This accountability strengthens her character and deepens the respect others have for her. Her words reflect her values. They are not influenced by the need for attention or approval. She does not change the way she speaks to fit into different environments, if it means losing her integrity. Whether she is in a comfortable space or a challenging one, she remains consistent. There is a calm confidence in the way she communicates. She does not need to raise her voice to be heard. She does not need to argue endlessly to make her point. Her clarity and composure naturally command attention. People listen not because she demands it, but because her presence invites it. Over time, this intentional way of speaking creates trust. Others know that when she speaks, there is meaning behind her words. They know she is not careless, not reactive, not driven by impulse. Her communication becomes a reflection of her inner stability. And through her words, she shows respect not only to others, but to herself. A respectful woman understands that boundaries are not walls meant to isolate her from the world, but lines that define where she ends and others begin. These lines are not drawn out of fear or control, but out of clarity. She knows who she is, what she values, and what she is willing to accept in her life. Because of this awareness, she does not allow others to overstep without consequence. Her boundaries begin internally, before she can expect others to respect her limits. she must first recognize them herself. She pays attention to how situations make her feel. When something drains her energy, creates discomfort, or goes against her values, she does not ignore it. She listens. This inner awareness becomes the foundation of her external boundaries. She does not wait until she is overwhelmed to set limits. She understands that boundaries are most effective when they are clear from the beginning. In her interactions, she communicates her limits calmly and directly. There is no need for aggression or defensiveness. Her clarity speaks for itself. She does not apologize for having standards, because she knows that without them, she would lose herself trying to accommodate everyone else. Saying no is not difficult for her, but it is intentional. She does not say no out of ego or resistance, but out of respect for her time, her energy, and her well-being. She understands that every time she says yes to something that does not align with her, she is saying no to herself. Because of this, her yes is meaningful, and her no is firm. There are moments when others may not understand her boundaries. Some may test them, question them, or even try to push past them. A respectful woman does not feel the need to argue or convince. She does not engage in endless explanations. Instead, she remains consistent. Her actions reinforce her words. If a boundary is crossed, she responds not with emotional outbursts, but with distance or withdrawal of access. She understands that maintaining boundaries often requires difficult choices. It may mean stepping away from relationships that once felt important. It may mean disappointing others who are used to her over giving. It may mean standing alone in moments where it would be easier to give in. But she knows that temporary discomfort is the price of long-term self-respect. Her boundaries are not only about protecting herself from others, but also about holding herself accountable. She does not allow herself to engage in behaviors that go against her own standards. She does not overextend herself to the point of exhaustion. She does not stay in situations that continuously harm her peace. In this way, she respects her own limits as much as she expects others to respect them. There is calmness in the way she enforces her boundaries. She does not raise her voice or create unnecessary conflict. She does not need to prove her strength through confrontation. Instead, her strength is shown through consistency. When she says something is not acceptable, she stands by it. Over time, people learn that her words are not empty, and they begin to respect her limits naturally. She also respects the boundaries of others, just as she expects her limits to be honored. She is mindful not to cross into the space of others without permission. She understands that respect is mutual. This awareness allows her to build relationships that are balanced, where both sides feel valued and understood. A respectful woman does not feel guilty for having boundaries. She does not see them as selfish or harsh. She understands that without boundaries, relationships become imbalanced, leading to resentment and emotional exhaustion. By maintaining her limits, she creates space for healthier, more genuine connections. There are times when enforcing boundaries requires her to walk away. This is not a decision she takes lightly. Walking away can be painful, especially when emotions are involved, but she recognizes that staying in a place where her boundaries are repeatedly ignored slowly diminishes her sense of self. In those moments, she chooses to leave, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Her ability to maintain boundaries reflects her inner stability. She is not easily swayed by pressure, guilt, or manipulation. She stands firm, not in a rigid way, but in a grounded way. This grounded presence creates a sense of security, both for herself and for those around her. Over time, her boundaries shape the quality of her life. They filter what enters her space, people, conversations, opportunities. What remains is what aligns with her values, what supports her growth, and what respects her as she is. And through this, she creates a life that is not controlled by others, but guided by her own clarity and self-respect. A respectful woman understands the true power of choosing peace over ego. She knows that life will constantly present situations that test patience, push boundaries, and challenge composure. In these moments, it would be easy to react impulsively, to defend herself aggressively, or to prove her point at all costs. Yet she recognizes that winning an argument or asserting superiority often comes at a price far greater than the temporary satisfaction it provides. She has learned that her inner calm and dignity are far more valuable than the fleeting victories of ego. Choosing peace is not the same as avoiding confrontation. It is not about submission or weakness. Rather, it is an intentional act of strength, a decision to rise above unnecessary conflict. She understands that when emotions run high, reactions can often be unbalanced, and words can be sharper than intended. By choosing peace, she avoids contributing to chaos and protects her energy from being wasted on matters that do not serve her higher purpose. She evaluates each situation before engaging, asking herself whether her response will lead to resolution, understanding, or growth. If the answer is no, she steps back. She does not allow herself to be drawn into battles that serve only pride or the need to be right. She recognizes that ego thrives on attention and control, but her purpose is not to feed it. Her energy is directed toward what truly matters: clarity, harmony, and self-respect. When others attempt to provoke her, she does not react with hostility. Instead, she maintains composure, knowing that responding in anger only gives the other person power over her emotions. By staying calm, she demonstrates mastery over herself. And in that mastery lies an unspoken authority that cannot be challenged. Her silence, her measured words, and her composed demeanor often speak louder than any argument she could engage in. Choosing peace over ego also requires immense patience. She understands that not everyone will see things her way and that some conflicts are beyond her control. She accepts that resolution is not always immediate and that forcing understanding or compliance often leads to resentment. By exercising patience, she creates space for growth, both for herself and for others. She allows situations to unfold naturally, knowing that true understanding cannot be rushed or demanded. Her commitment to peace does not mean ignoring injustice or mistreatment. Rather, it means responding with wisdom rather than impulsivity. She addresses problems firmly and decisively, but without letting anger dictate her actions. She communicates clearly, sets boundaries, and takes necessary steps to protect herself and her values, all while maintaining calm and dignity. In doing so, she preserves her integrity and avoids unnecessary escalation. This practice of choosing peace is not limited to external conflicts. It extends inward to the battles she fights within her own mind. She resists the urge to dwell on grudges, to replay past wrongs, or to allow resentment to fester. She understands that carrying the weight of unresolved emotions only disturbs her inner tranquility. Instead, she processes feelings consciously, releasing what does not serve her and choosing acceptance where she cannot change the outcome. She also understands the influence her peace has on others. Her composed presence can diffuse tension, inspire calm, and encourage thoughtful dialogue. By modeling emotional control and restraint, she sets an example for those around her. People are naturally drawn to her because she embodies stability, and they feel safer and more understood in her presence. A respectful woman does not allow pride to dictate her actions. She is willing to apologize when necessary, not because she is weak, but because she values resolution over being right. She recognizes that holding on to ego driven grievances erodes relationships and creates unnecessary suffering. By releasing the need to win, she cultivates harmony and strengthens the connections that truly matter. Ultimately, choosing peace over ego is a lifelong practice. It requires constant awareness, self-reflection, and discipline. There will always be moments that test her resolve, but she approaches each challenge with clarity, purpose, and inner strength. Her decisions are guided not by immediate emotion or pride, but by the long-term preservation of her dignity, the stability of her mind, and the quality of her life. Through this conscious choice, she demonstrates that true power lies not in domination, but in serenity, control, and the ability to rise above the need to prove oneself. Discipline is the quiet force that shapes the life of a respectful woman. It is not something imposed from the outside, nor is it a rigid set of rules meant to constrain her. Rather, it is an internal commitment, a daily practice of choosing what aligns with her values, what nurtures her growth, and what preserves her dignity. Discipline allows her to live intentionally, instead of being swept along by impulses, distractions, or the demands of others. She understands that her life is the result of countless small choices made consistently over time. Every day, she decides how she will spend her time, how she will use her energy, and how she will treat herself and others. Discipline is the thread that weaves these choices into a coherent life, creating a sense of order and purpose even amidst chaos. Without it, she knows that talent, intelligence, or kindness alone are not enough to sustain respect or success. A respectful woman applies discipline to her mind. She does not allow herself to be consumed by negative thoughts, self-doubt, or mental clutter. She understands that uncontrolled thinking can lead to uncontrolled behavior. Instead, she trains her mind to focus on clarity, to evaluate situations objectively, and to respond rather than react. Meditation, reflection, journaling, or simply pausing before speaking are some of the ways she cultivates mental discipline. By mastering her thoughts, she maintains emotional balance and strengthens her ability to act with intention. Her discipline extends to her emotions as well. She does not allow fleeting feelings to dictate her actions. Anger, frustration, or sadness are not excuses for rash decisions or disrespectful behavior. She recognizes that discipline is the bridge between feeling and acting. Even in moments of intense emotion, she can pause, observe, and choose a response that reflects her values rather than momentary impulses. This ability to manage emotions gracefully earns her respect and admiration, both from herself and from those around her. Physical discipline is another cornerstone of her life. She respects her body as the vessel through which she experiences the world. She maintains her health, nourishes herself with intention, and engages in activities that strengthen and energize her. Exercise, proper rest, and mindful eating are not burdens, but acts of self-respect. By caring for her body with consistency and dedication, she creates the energy and resilience needed to navigate life's challenges with grace. Time is one of her most valuable resources, and she disciplines herself in its use. She does not allow distractions or the whims of others to steal her focus. She prioritizes her goals, her relationships, and her personal growth. She plans, organizes, and executes her tasks with deliberate care. She knows that without discipline in managing time, even the most talented or intelligent person can become overwhelmed, stressed, or directionless. Her consistent use of time reflects the seriousness with which she treats her life and her purpose. A respectful woman also practices discipline in her words and communication. She does not speak impulsively, nor does she allow gossip, negativity, or careless remarks to pass her lips. She chooses her words with thoughtfulness, ensuring that they reflect her integrity and values. Even in challenging conversations, she maintains composure, responding with clarity and respect. Discipline in speech ensures that she leaves a positive impact on those around her, building trust and credibility over time. Her financial decisions are guided by discipline as well. She does not act on impulse or allow emotions to dictate spending. Instead, she plans budgets and invests in a way that aligns with her long-term goals and her sense of responsibility. Financial discipline gives her independence, stability, and confidence, qualities that reinforce her overall self-respect and empower her to make choices without compromise. Even in her relationships, discipline plays a role. She does not allow attachment or convenience to override her principles. She sets boundaries, respects herself, and chooses connections that nurture her growth. She is consistent in her loyalty, honesty, and respect, ensuring that her interactions are meaningful and balanced. Discipline in relationships allows her to maintain dignity, avoid unnecessary conflict, and cultivate trust. Ultimately, discipline is not a punishment or restriction for a respectful woman. It is the framework through which she builds her life. It guides her actions, preserves her energy, and strengthens her character. Every choice she makes, and every habit she cultivates, and every boundary she enforces is rooted in this quiet, consistent practice. Through discipline, she becomes a force of stability, clarity, and respect, a woman whose life reflects intentionality, strength, and unwavering self-respect. A respectful woman understands that walking away from disrespect is not a sign of weakness, but a declaration of her self-worth. She knows that staying in a situation where she is undervalued or mistreated only diminishes her energy, her peace, and her dignity. Choosing to remove herself from toxic environments or relationships is an act of courage, one that requires clarity and strength. She does not tolerate repeated disrespect, manipulation, or disregard for her boundaries. When someone consistently ignores her limits or undermines her, she recognizes that no amount of explanation or compromise will change the behavior. Instead of wasting her time and energy trying to force respect where it is not given, she steps away. Walking away is her way of preserving her integrity and maintaining control over her life. This choice is not impulsive. She does not act out of anger or temporary frustration. She observes, reflects, and evaluates. She considers the long-term consequences of staying versus leaving. She understands that enduring disrespect often leads to resentment, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. By choosing to walk away, she protects herself from these outcomes and reinforces the standard that she will not accept anything less than respect. Walking away also demonstrates self-respect to others. It communicates clearly that her boundaries are non-negotiable and that her value cannot be compromised. Those who truly care about her will recognize her strength, while those who do not may reveal themselves without her needing to expose their character through confrontation. In this way, walking away is both a protective measure and a teaching moment, showing others how she expects to be treated, even when it is difficult. She understands that leaving is sometimes necessary for growth. By removing herself from disrespectful situations, she opens space for healthier relationships, better opportunities, and a life aligned with her values. Walking away becomes a tool not of avoidance, but of empowerment, ensuring that her energy and attention are invested only where they are deserved. In the end, the habits of a respectful woman are not about perfection or pleasing others. They are about cultivating strength, dignity, and self-awareness from within. She chooses discipline over impulse, peace over ego, and respect over attention. She listens more than she reacts, speaks with intention, and sets clear boundaries that protect her energy and her values. She walks away from situations that diminish her preserving her integrity and her sense of self. These habits are not just actions, they are reflections of her inner strength and the quiet power that guides every choice she makes. A respectful woman commands admiration, not by demanding it, but by embodying it in every thought, word, and action. Through her habits, she creates a life that is grounded in self-respect, unwavering dignity, and a presence that naturally inspires respect from others.